I'm Tanya Fox, and you're listening to Fox Talks Business Podcast. I started my career in the corporate world, but always played to my own tune and loved to think outside of the box. This didn't always serve me well with the bosses, so I made the decision to become an entrepreneur. And that little seed of entrepreneurial curiosity continued to grow as I branched out into retail, service, and franchise businesses. Now, I have been fortunate to have amazing successes in the last 2 decades, but they did not come without some really big failures and even bigger lessons learned. And that's why I started this podcast, not just to share the failures, but to show you how you can turn every failure into a success. We're going to hear from some amazing humans from around the world that are going to share their stories of the good, the bad, and the motivational entrepreneurial life has to offer. After all, life is too short to make all of the mistakes yourself, so why not learn from each other? And of course, we're going to have some fun, because as I always say, well, you know what? I'll tell you that at the end of the episode. Hello, Foxy listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in to episode 131, Going Home Again. So on September 13th, I hit the Buy Now button on WestJet's website and purchased a round-trip ticket to go home to Ontario to see my mama. Spent 18 glorious days absorbing as much of her wisdom as I could. I was so excited, I have to tell you, I was literally jumping up and down around my house. It had been over 2 years since I've been able to get back, and it was literally all I could talk about with friends, my husband, my son. I really did not get any work done the afternoon that I bought the ticket. And that night, I went to sleep with a huge smile on my face as I was so full of excitement of the adventures that were brewing inside. The next morning, I got up and did my very bad habit of what I always do. I grabbed my phone and I started casually scrolling through Facebook. It took me less than 2 minutes for me to go from complete excitement to utter dread in my decision. I read about how the world did not want me to travel, about issues on other planes, about staying in my house, locking myself away. The more I tried to avoid these posts, the more they seemed to flood my page. Sort of like how if you talk about needing a new bra, and then all you see is women in bras every second post, which, by the way, is another thing I'm trying to get off my feed right now. From September 14th to October 2nd, which was just a few days before I was scheduled to fly out, I must have changed my mind 100 times, if not more. I'm going, I'm not going. No, I'm going, and that is final. Nope, not going. I was exhausted and it was so mentally straining. I felt like I was seeing everything that was telling me I should just stay home. Everything that was going on in my world. Could I keep myself safe during the flight? And then, oh great, they changed my flight and coming back is not a direct flight. Oh, but they say I can cancel. And if I don't agree with the flight change, and I'll get a full refund. Is this supposed to be a sign that I'm not going? So I sat in bed with my husband that night and I was in tears. I felt completely lost on what the right answer was. I kept referring him to everything I was reading about my feelings about what was going on. And finally, he stopped my rant and told me to put all of that stuff aside. What was my gut telling me? And the truth was, I knew I needed to come home. I needed to spend time with my mom to unwind, to regroup, to refocus, to get treatments from her. She's a very talented reflexologist. To listen to spa music all day, to write in her sunroom, and to forget everything that's going on in the world. And most of all, I just needed to be just someone's daughter again and not have all the other titles that I bestow upon myself. And so I decided to turn off social media, the news, and all of those other things that were causing me so much stress, indecision. And I started to pack for my trip. And slowly the excitement started to come back, the joy of being able to see everybody, the inspirations of what I wanted to work on. It all started to come back and the emotions were all good. And once again, I was confident in my decision again for going home. So why am I telling you all of this? because it was a huge eye-opener to me. So many times, I'm so confident in a decision I want to make in my business. When I first think of it or I brainstorm it, I know, oh, this is going to be amazing. And I'm really, really pumped up and excited and very, very confident. And then, well, quite frankly, I go looking for validation from the outside world. And this is how I screw it up. When in the end, it really all comes back to me going, you know what? I should have just trusted my first instincts. Now, I've already learned this lesson countless times in my life. Hindsight can be a wonderful tool. Now, if I can just work on making this particular lesson continue to stick, but that's another episode. In a world where outside validation can be paramount or can feel paramount, it can really be hard for us to stop and realize that inside of all of you, myself included, are all the answers that we need. Inside of us is where we need to go when we're wondering if what we're doing is putting us on the right track. So the next time you have a decision to make in your business, instead of going and searching the internet, of asking your friends and your family all of the ways it will work and won't work, just take a moment to sit in the thoughts and find your own answers. As my mom says to me all of the time, you know all the answers you need. You just need to remember how to listen for them. Now that I have been here for just over a week, I am so happy that I decided to listen to my first instincts to shut off the outside world, because it is true that I did need to turn off the stress. I did need to refocus, to unwind, and to have some time to just be nobody. And I think that's important. So what I hope for you, what your quote unquote homework is at the end of this episode, is I want you to take some time, if you feel like you're jumping back and forth between a yes and a no, a do it and don't do it, a go and a stay. Take time to shut all of the outside world out. Sit in a quiet room, sit with somebody you love, don't say anything. Look at yourself in the mirror and just sit until all of a sudden you start to hear the answers that are within you. And there you will find the greatest wisdom that we are all instinctually born and continue to grow. So today, my Foxy listeners, I hope that you take a moment to just stop and listen to the most valuable pieces of advice you will ever get from yourself. Happy listening, and make sure that you find time to have fun. We all need to, because as I always say, if you're not having fun, why are you doing it?